Yo, the pain is coming. I'm about to click on this video. It's a DF clips that says Microsoft's savage cuts, promising games canned, developers fired, and for what? Now, Digital Foundry, y'all have got to watch your tone. And I say that in a friendly way because you took money from Nintendo and they also did layoffs, but we didn't see y'all asking this question. So, again, I ain't saying nothing, but I'm saying something, but not saying anything. You know what I'm saying? Y'all gotta, all of you have to figure out your little interests in this whole conversation. But let's hear what it is that you guys have to say. I hope it's sensible, because I done dealt with a lot of.
So, first news topic, man, how do you deal with this one? Basically, untold misery inflicted on hundreds, possibly thousands of people within the Xbox division, laid off in the wake of cuts and a reorganization. Many games that have been failed, cancelled. I just can't really get my head around the scale of this. I always say this, but it's really difficult to comment about this sort of thing when there are so many lives
Affected.
basically disrupted or even ruined by this sort of stuff.
Yep. People are affected by this. And here's the thing. As somebody who's been laid off before, once, twice, I can't remember, I can tell you that if you hate layoffs, if you say you hate layoffs, right, or you're not happy about them or whatever, I'd be happy for you to actually show that, what it is. Show that if it's emotional or whatever it is, stay consistent while showing it. But what I've realized, and I'm not saying Digital Foundry has done anything, I haven't watched the video, but what I've realized is lately it's become a team sport. I literally had somebody just tell me in the comment section of my videos that Xbox canceled announced games, but PlayStation didn't, so it's not the same thing. You know what a knockback is when you read something? Because I can remember that Concord got unlaunched. It didn't even get announced. It got announced. It was launched. It was played. Streams were done. Videos were made. Reviews were published. And the game was taken away and refunds were issued. But it's not the same thing, according to this person. People play these console war games so much, they fall into logical fallacies and don't even realize that they're doing it.
John, I'm going to go to you first on this one. I mean, let's talk about the headlines here. A lot of games have been cancelled. A lot of studios have experienced cuts. Studios that some might consider kind of untouchable have been very indecently touched by all of this.
No entity in a financial market is untouchable. None at all. That's one thing that everybody needs to know.
It's shocking stuff. I don't really know where to begin. What do you want to talk about?
Yikes, that is difficult. I mean, obviously the most impacted aspect of this, the most disappointing side, is that a lot of people lost their jobs. And tech layoffs continue. That's pretty bad stuff. That's continued to happen. And it does seem to be this combination of the post-pandemic age after that sort of hiring spree we saw, plus the changes to, as I've learned this week, looking more into it, changes to Section 174 of the U.S. tax code, which essentially changes the way that R&D is like taxed. And
Interesting. Section 174 changes R&D. Upgrade. 5-year amortization. This is March 14th. Oh. Tax-based limitation on development tax for work permitted under contract must contend with the exclusion for funded research. The BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill, domestic research costs are now fully deductible under Section 174A. Foreign R&D must still be amortized over 15 years. So is he trying to say that Microsoft wants to hire locally? I don't know.
Instead of it's spread out over years rather than simply deducting it immediately. So it's sort of like changed the way that companies view this stuff, and it feels like the most easy way to reduce spending and keep the money high is headcount cut. But
That doesn't make any sense. I'd have to also read that amendment too to the tax code. What?
what's really disappointing about the Xbox layoff in particular is that Xbox was profitable, right? This is not
So was PlayStation when they did their cuts. In fact, Bellular Gaming, y'all remember the video I just made about Bellular Gaming? Where he was talking about the Bend Studios cuts? Let me see. Bellular News. His video here where he talked about, where's that video? This one right here. Let me just play the first 12 seconds of the video for you. Right here.
Got rid of 30% of their team, and it's part of a pattern that's been over 1,000 PlayStation developers laid off over the last year and a half. Of course, all while the company is posting record profits.
I mean, I don't see, I mean, you know, I'm just saying, like, you know, why is it more disappointing than the PlayStation 1? Uh-oh. Bro, we got to 2 minutes, man. Yeah. Are we? You know what? Maybe it's my. I'm such a skeptic person. Sometimes I got to shut up and listen.
a business that was failing. It makes perfect sense for a large company to cut off the businesses that have struggled for years and are not making any money, but Xbox was making money. So this really feels to me like this continued obsession with driving AI development. Microsoft is all about CoPilot. It's all about investing as many billions as they can into it.
You guys can't be saying this when they just invested as many billions as they could into gaming as well. Almost the same amount, with a $6 billion difference or so. Do you guys even really want to address the heart of what's causing these layoffs, or do y'all just want to say what you perceive? I don't know.
There's even these tone deaf like posts from people there basically saying like, oh yeah, you can, those that lost your jobs, you can use CoPilot to help you, you know, to feel better and figure out where to go next with your career. And we're looking to up our game devs with by leveraging CoPilot to make them more efficient. Like, it's just,
is this really happening?
yes,
That's astonishingly tone deaf.
absolutely. There was a LinkedIn post this morning. Let me actually find it. Yeah, this just blew my mind. Where,
Okay, I mean, Microsoft didn't. I don't. You know, let me see the LinkedIn post. Let me see what's talking about.
executive producer at Xbox Game Studios, Matt Turnbull, suggested, Brandon Sheffield actually found this. He suggested on LinkedIn that people who have been let go should turn to AI for help. And he posted this long spiel about how you can use large language model AI tools such as CoPilot to help reduce the emotional and cognitive load that comes with job loss. This is honestly just astoundingly tone deaf. And you also see it in, I have to say, Phil's message as well, who, you know, in that message to employees.
Here we go with the Phil's message. Then I'll play Bellular Gaming's own parsing of what Jim Ryan was doing. You're gonna see this. This is gonna be like I'll keep watching.
He had to take the time to address shareholders by saying, like, yeah, we have our strongest, our best lineup in Xbox history. We're making all this money, but, you know, we got to let you go. It's kind of the message you get. So, like,
Let's look at Bellular Gaming and how he posits the layoffs at PlayStation. And this was done like 9 days ago. It's not the two videos are not too far removed, because around this time, Bend had just also gone through another set of layoffs with some of their staff.
Bend Studio just got rid of 30% of their team, and it's part of a pattern that's been over 1,000 PlayStation developers laid off over the last year and a half. Of course, all while the company is posting record profits. Delightful. Now, there is a reason why. What PlayStation are doing right now is they are quietly restructuring the studios that built their empire, because as, we've kind of all noticed, things really did go off track for a bit.
So in this video, Bellular is like, the studio, PlayStation is about to start getting, a little bit more strict. They're talking about to their investors. They're using this language of, oh, things are about to get more whatever.
Left a year ago.
Let me see if I can find that piece of the whole missive where he says something that I thought about blew my mind into shreds. Listen to this.
To actually run in the future. So as we look at everything that will happen, this is what we'll be thinking. PlayStation leadership plans to get more from less. Tighter portfolio control, stricter development processes, more outsourcing, more control of fixed costs, less leniency whenever developers miss targets. And we did see hints of this after the Insomniac hack, where senior leadership discussed making PlayStation mandated cuts with their development plans. But now it seems that everyone at PlayStation may face this throughout all development. As much as, listening to my own words earlier on in this video, you can see a lot of sense in what Herman is saying, what he's trying to project about the failures of the past, and how they're going to be different now.
Did you hear that? It makes sense. This is what Destin was talking about this yesterday. I watched his video and he pointed this Belula Games missive and this part of the video where he says, seeing as they're about to start tightening ship and, reflecting on the failures of the past, which led to all the layoffs in PlayStation, the layoffs and all of the scenario makes sense. Even while posting record profits, it makes sense in PlayStation's case. You have to understand. But God forbid Xbox also becomes evil corpo. And like somebody said, you'll think that they're literally spitting fireballs at everybody and burning down the entire, area.
All of this just feels like these orders coming from on high, from top Microsoft, that all seems to center around the investment in things like AI, which is where they're like super focused right now. Now,
they're also super focused on gaming. And I think a lot of people make it seem like they're not. They just are not going to deal with bloat. Because now everybody wants to, as you heard Bellular say, right? Tight management, fixed cost, low tolerance for projects that are not yielding results. You just heard him say, and that is in the context of PlayStation's own cuts and PlayStation's, new direction going forward.
That's not to say that Microsoft hasn't had its issues. The Xbox brand has struggled a lot since Xbox One. Actually, since the later Xbox 360. I mean, the damage that Don Matrick did is legendary. Completely shifted.
No, it's not. It's absolutely, at this time, it's so irrelevant now. Sure, it messed the hardware game up for them, but if you're saying that they're being profitable, then how are they pulling it off without the hardware? Right? So again, y'all need to dial out of that, Xbox mistakes from Xbox One. You guys have got to basically get past that because Xbox's team and their leadership has already gotten past that. They're moving to an entirely new directive that's pretty much put PlayStation on its heels.
Shifting the momentum of the brand and reducing things in a way that just never worked out. And then they've never been able to find their way back, I would feel.
That's not true. You're feeling something. Again, here you go. You be feeling. That's when feeling. Don't be feeling. Get a little bit of analysis. You count FPS for crying out loud. Right? I mean, get an LLM to tell you what is, what's going on. They got LLMs that can actually help you calculate and run some models and stuff. No need to worry about feeling anything.
And even with all these studio acquisitions, Xbox has continued to struggle to get really key titles out the door, both in a timely fashion and...
Really key titles out the door? What? Did we not just get 12 games launched on game? Are we not getting 12 this year? And which one has been late, except the one that was postponed, avowed, into this year from last year because they didn't want to go ahead and mess with Indiana Jones? Are we not getting Outer Worlds? Are we not getting Grounded 2, which is also on schedule? I've seen a lot of people say that after Laura Fryer's video, and I was thinking to myself, did Mrs. Fryer ignore Obsidian like when she was making that video? Because I was like, I could have been certain that Obsidian is a studio that she's already praised before and talked about in a very good light. Sure, the initiative is having challenges, or they had challenges because they gave them a structure that was absolutely set up for them to fail. That's just what it was. Nobody was, in charge of the ship. They wanted to do a kind of weird democratic structure. Whoops, that worked not.
At the quality fans demand. I mean, I think the Halo Infinite situation is legendary at this point. They dropped the ball big time.
But what does that have to do with what your topic is and them being profitable and firing devs? You're trying to make a moral argument. Let me get this guy back on track. That a company being profitable and firing its developers who are working is bad. I agree. So what is all this talk about Halo Infinite? I've never played Halo. I've played maybe 20 minutes of Halo my entire life, if I even made it to 20 minutes.
I would say Turn 10 dropped the ball with rebooting Forza Motorsport last year. Games like Starfield are good, but it didn't hit the way that I think they would have wanted. And it just felt like Microsoft was unable to catch a break and just get these titles at the door that resonate with people in the way that the biggest games from Sony and Nintendo do, right?
Bro, Starfield is in the same category on Steam as Helldivers 2 was in 2024. Starfield was in that same category in 2023. What is this Starfield malignant view? Yes, it was mixed, 50%, 50-50. Some loved it, some hated it. So what? They freaking bought it. What is this guy talking about? PlayStation gamers are playing Indiana Jones. They're playing all these Xbox games as they land on Xbox. And he's saying all this stuff about their games. So are the games leading to the layoffs if they're bad and not able to resonate? Or are they being immoral for laying off people while they're making profits? This is just Xbox slander. This is just a vehicle for Xbox slander, from what I see.
But they were still making money, and Game Pass was still making money. So to me, it just feels like.
So how are they making money if the fans weren't so resonating? So how are they making money? Maybe the people who use Xbox and play in Xbox's ecosystem actually just game there and don't pay attention to many of you, regardless of what it is that you feel or you think. Could that be the reality? Who knows?
All of this ties into Microsoft just shifting where their business is going, and they don't view Xbox, they don't view games the way that perhaps people like us want, right? And
then go to where they view games that people like you want. Why does everybody say this? Everybody had been laughing at Xbox for saying, oh, if this is an Xbox, then nothing's an Xbox. If everything's an Xbox, then there is no Xbox and stuff. If Xbox's business proposition is not appealing to you, thank God that there are other options out there. This is what Microsoft just buried down, and Phil Spencer and Xbox buried down and started to follow exactly where the market was going, which includes their own gamers, by the way. There were a lot of Xbox gamers, way more, that couldn't be bothered if the games went to Windows. In fact, a lot more couldn't be bothered when the games went to PlayStation. Why? They're not on the internet talking. They're just buying the games. Even PlayStation recognized, these guys are open-minded, bro. They're not going to buy a PlayStation. They're not that open-minded to go give us $600. They're just going to buy the game. So PlayStation wants to get in on that. How is Xbox being successful selling less consoles than the opposition? They're shocked because they realize that there's so much value being given in that ecosystem, and PlayStation and Nintendo have not set themselves up for for that without having to lose a little bit of money. Whereas Xbox has taken the L's and is now rolling in money. And so everybody is now looking and saying, wow, this is a great proposition. We should have done it, but it's already late. Your $300 million Wolverine game is still cooking in the oven. You can't afford to put that game now on some subscription service without taking a colossal hit. Whereas Xbox ain't making that many $300 million games, number one, and has already understood its finances in a very solid context. So business-wise, they've leaped over PlayStation. Nintendo, on the other hand, doesn't have the problem of expensive development costs. So PlayStation on a business side is playing catch up. And yet he's saying, but they're still making money. How did they do it? How did they do it? Did they rob the money out of people?
And it does, and because of all the job loss associated with it, and it's not just Xbox people that lost their jobs, by the way. They did a lot of head cutting again. I think the total Microsoft cuts this year is over 15,000 people, which is
Which is insane, by the way. That is wild. That's one of the reasons, as many of my friends invited me to come and, interview for tech jobs and pursue tech positions, I said, guys, man, I do not know. I'm not interested in that. I'm not.
insane.
Right.
So the whole situation is just dark and upsetting, and it's something that we're really seeing in the West, and something especially in the West. But something that really hit home this morning when
Well, he said it. He just said the quiet part out loud.
discussing this with some friends was like, somebody noted that, like, you look at somebody like Andrew Wilson, Bobby Kotick when he was still at Activision, they're making 30 million, 150 million a year as the CEOs. They're even taking pay increases. They're making so much. You look at Nintendo and the CEO is making like 1.8 million. Miyamoto is making like 1.4 million. I mean, this is consistent with other Japanese companies, and they're not going through this same sort of like extreme layoff stuff.
They make games. They're conservative in the way they approach their business. There are just so many things the Japanese business model actually takes. But here's the thing. In the Western business model, especially in America, it's all run, 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 run. In some cases, it's beneficial. In many cases, there's colossal fallout. And what you're seeing is the colossal fallout of overly bloating yourself, thinking that COVID was the norm.
Either. It just feels like the world of capitalism has become even worse than ever. And like,
please do not do this, man. You are a tech review company who relies on a framework of a capitalistic society that brought about these innovations. Don't do it. You are a benefactor of capitalism. Sure, you can criticize the failings and the weaknesses of capitalism, but it's not the time for you know what?
this like short-sightedness and focus on AI is really a big symptom of it. It's very frustrating to watch.
There was a report from Windows Central saying that Microsoft's overall aim to build up $80 billion worth of AI server infrastructure may have had something to do with this reorganization. No idea
What?
if that's true or not. And here's the thing, the amount of visibility you have on the decision making behind all of this stuff, you're only seeing
Right.
the end result of it.
Exactly.
You don't really know how all of these decisions came to pass. But you're right, John. There has been some issue in terms of
All right. Anyways, I think I kind of get a sense of where it is that they're going and where they're coming from. And in all honesty, people are trying to make sense of what's going on, But the gaming industry is oversaturated. That's one thing for sure. I mean, even Xbox is now part of the saturation. They have 4 publishers altogether, and they're going to even saturate the market more. They're going to bleed PlayStation. They're going to be dumping their games with their weight behind it on PlayStation, and it's going to make them a lot of money. It's already making them a lot of money, right? And what this means is it's going to be very hard for these companies to want to even invest anymore, right, in video games. It's going to be harder and harder. So we'll see how this plays out, man. I'll put a link in the description of the video. Go ahead and, check it out for yourself. Thanks for watching. I'm out. Peace.